the slides?
Yes, it looks
Yeah.
great. And we'll just have you get started. So you have about 12 to 15 minutes and then to do your presentation, and then we'll open the floor to feedback. That
Okay.
works? Go
Yeah,
for it.
perfect. Okay, hello again, and thanks for this opportunity. I'm excited to tell you more about Hope and how we are closing the gap between nutritious and sustainable pet food. So pet parents today have to choose between nutritious and sustainable pet food when they shop for food for their furry family. And this is because there are various concerns with traditional animal ingredients. Livestock and fish ingredients account for up to 70% of the environmental impact of pet food. And there is a growing number of pets with allergies, and 96% of food allergies in dogs are to livestock, poultry, and fish ingredients. We know that we have a huge problem with livestock and poultry and fish ingredients and their environmental impact, and pet food is a meaningful player in this whole issue. 25% of all meat in North America goes to pet food. So we know that traditional animal ingredients are a problem, but removing them is easier said than done, because plants-only alternatives don't have all the nutrients that pets need. And so when we look at a plants exclusive diet for pets, we will see an increase in synthetic supplements. And synthetic supplements are petroleum derived, so there is a concern for supply chain bioavailability, sorry, recalls, etc. So this is where we come in. Our solution to this problem is to go beyond meat and beyond plants. So we use natural, nutrient-rich, eco-friendly ingredients to remove livestock and fish ingredients and create pet food where pets can thrive from. So why insects, algae, and fungi? The reason is that these novel ingredients offer more nutrients than meat or fish, and all with a minimal fraction of their environmental impact. And the best part of this solution is that pets love the nutty and umami taste of these ingredients. And fortunately, there are already some commercially available ingredients for us to include in formulas right now, but there is also a lot of potential for new ingredients that we can use in the future for pet food and beyond. Creating nutritious and sustainable pet food is like a puzzle. So we solve this nutrition puzzle with an evidence-based approach, and I like to think about this in like three main components. So the first one is we create proprietary meat and fish-free formulas. And the second is we are developing patent-pending ingredients and products. So we're using a proprietary strategy to grow red algae that has a unique nutritional profile and provides taurine and arachidonic acid, which are two essential nutrients for pet food that are not in plants. And so they're typically added through synthetic supplements. And in the case of arachidonic acid, there is really not another way of adding it to pet food. So you'll see that, for example, for cats, they need like chicken fat or dog fat. And this is because arachidonic acid is not, cannot be added otherwise. And last but not least, science and technology can only take us so far. And so we need to tackle this problem with education, transparency in the form of carbon labels, blog posts, and just really educating pet parents about both the nutritional benefits, but also the environmental impact that they can have. Pet food is an exciting market. It's thriving, resilient. It's a market worth over $150 billion globally. And the alternative protein space, it's still in its infancy, but based on the current plant-based and insect-based pet food global markets, we estimate the addressable market in North America to be over $10 billion. I also want to mention that there are a few driving trends here that indicate that this market, our segment, will continue to grow, which are increasing pet ownership, interest in premiumization, functionality, and sustainability as key drivers in pet food. And also this idea that food is medicine. So bringing all these nutrients from natural sources is a continued interest for pet parents. Our go-to-market strategy is really to meet pet parents where they shop. So we have multi-channel, multi-brand approach, and so we're trying to find like health and eco-conscious pet parents with our first line, which is insect protein based. And we are approaching them both in retail, specialty pet and grocery, and direct to consumer through our website and other e-commerce platforms. And our value proposition is really, we're hypoallergenic and sustainable protein, natural, limited ingredients, and expertly formulated and third-party tested. I have some metrics here that support that pet parents really want sustainability. They're open to try insect protein and alternative proteins, and 35% of pet parents think their pets have food sensitivities, which also aligns with what we are offering. So there are a few players in the alternative protein space, and this list is actually growing, but we can divide it into two groups. So traditional pet food players that market themselves as sustainable and humane, but still use traditional ingredients. And then we have the alternative protein players, but they rely mostly on single ingredients. And so that means that they will continue to rely on synthetic supplements to provide all the nutrients that pets need. And so what we're doing differently is creating a portfolio of products with a range of novel proteins and novel ingredients, and reducing the use of synthetic supplements, as well as using a science-based approach. So if you think about like the largest pet food players in the world, these are companies that are not relying on a single protein, but they're really offering a range of proteins formulations. And that's what we want to do, but for the alternative protein space. So in the past 2 years, or a little bit over 2 years, we've made significant progress and obviously made a few pivots along the way. But now we're really proud that we've established supply chains and validated product market fit. So we are working with 3 manufacturers in Canada. We have an insect protein line available with 6 SKUs, dog treats and dog kibble. We have patent pending technology, and through our direct-to-consumer channel, we have an over 60% return rate, have obtained over $250,000 in non-dilutive funds. And in our B2B channel, which is where we spend most of our time and effort in the past year, we've seen significant growth, going from 12 retailers at the end of last year to 32 stores carrying our products as of now. And we've also obtained we're now in distribution partnership for specialty pet and grocery channels. So we expect to see a lot of growth in the next few months. In addition to that, we also had conversations with many retailers, Pet Value, Whole Foods, Healthy Planet, and those are stores that we have in our pipeline, and we foresee that we'll see their stores into carrying our products in the near future. So in terms of financial projections, we anticipate strong and bottom line growth in the next 3 years, both by extended product offering. So we want to expand the SKUs that we offer, add cat food, for example, and also distribution. So we're now in the 6,000 MRR, and we expect by the end of this year with this added distribution to be in $10,000. With adding specialty pet and grocery channels to our distribution network, we want to be in $120,000 MRR by 2024, and then in Q3 of 2024 we want to do our US launch, which will fuel more growth for us in expanding in North America, both in our B2B and D2C. So this is what we're planning to do in the next 18 months, really balancing brand positioning and short-term revenue, as well as planning for the future and remaining competitive with our R&D and like pipeline of ingredients that we want to bring to market in pet food. So in terms of positioning and revenue, I'll just focus on the expand distribution in Canada, US market entry, as I mentioned, and really focusing on B2B and B2C. And in terms of innovation and R&D, we have already a US patent and application, and they will continue development or cat products. So this is the team behind Hope. I'm Sofia Bonilla, I'm the CEO, and I have over 15 years of experience working at the intersection of biology, environment, and engineering. And I lead our small but committed team with the support from various advisors. And that's so we're raising our pre-seed round to expand our distribution in Canada, extend product offering to cats, as well as advance our technology readiness for our patent pending ingredients. And we plan to leverage the equity investment of $400,000 with government grants. And yeah, that's what I have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sofia.
I didn't time myself.
No, it was good. You were at just at 11 minutes, just under 11 minutes. So
okay, I forgot. I was like, oh, I don't know how long.
No,
okay.
no, you gave us a gift of time. Don't worry. And this is your first pitch practice, so it was great. Don't worry. Okay. Now I'll invite our experienced investors to give some feedback on overall impressions and then dive into the more specifics. So Jennifer, maybe I could start with you.
Sure. Great presentation, Sophia. It's always fun. You talked a little bit about how you're reworking some of this. It's always fun with Sheboot to see how pitches change over the 6 weeks of the program. But good job. I did want to ask a little bit on the financial side. So you talked about your revenue growth. I forget what this year's number was, but moving up to 450K MRR. Can you talk a little bit about what your costs are? So what your margin is, and what your margin is for your D2C and your B2B?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So there is a lot to say about that, but I'll try to summarize it. So for our direct-to-consumer channel, so in general, our cost of goods, let's talk about the current product, the products that we have now, which are dog treats. It costs us to produce between $1.9 and $2.1 per bag, and our suggested retail price is $9.99. So depending on the channel, then there are different costs. So for direct to consumer, that's really it. So we buy at 2.2, we produce at 2.2, and then sell at $9.99. And depending on the order, like shipping cost is subsidized, but we have a minimum for free shipping that subsidizes the shipping cost, and we get around 70% gross margin from D2C, which is now minor player in our revenue. Where we're focusing is on stores. So we sell to distribution, depending. We have two ways of selling right now. We sell to distributors, but we also sell directly to stores. For stores, we give them between 30 and 40% margin. And to distributors, we give them an extra 30%, so they can provide that product for 40%, and that gives us that we are in the 50 to 70% gross margin profit for our products when we go through wholesale.
Okay. And of the 10 billion in your estimated market size for your products, do you know how that splits between cats and dogs?
I don't know for sure, but I can estimate based on what we know. Like what we see now is most of the market is for dogs, but the growth for cats is outpacing growth for dogs. And so it would be like, even though dogs and cats are like evenly split in terms of numbers, just because of their size, we're talking, I think, about 65%, 65 to 35 in terms of volume and value. But as I said, for us, I think there is a good opportunity for cats because there is less competition, and it's a market that it's outpacing growth, outpacing dogs' growth.
Okay. I'll let Marisa ask any questions she has.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was on. My camera was off. The switch. Great presentation, Sofia. The slides are slick. There's lots of information in them. As a matter of fact, I was writing down a few questions, and you answered it in the next slide. So that's great. My question was sort of along the same lines as what Jennifer was saying. In terms of the growth, you're projecting some pretty significant growth, and that's fantastic. And I'm wondering if what you're raising is enough to sustain that growth. So what I'd like to hear a little bit more about, what is the cost of that growth? And in terms of your strategy going from B2C to B2B and distributors, is it because it's more cost efficient? Is it because it gives you a better return? A little bit about why that strategy shift was a good idea.
Yeah, so maybe I'll start with that second question, then we'll go back to the first one in terms of growth. So we started as a direct-to-consumer company, and what I understood throughout like the 6 months that we were in that position is that pet parents want validation from like that brands are serious, and when you are in retail, that brings some level of validation, some vetting process. But also, even though e-commerce has grown in the past 3 years because of the pandemic, 50% of all pet food is sold through grocery and specialty pet, like over 50%. And that's not even counting like Costco's and like mass retailers. So really the bulk of pet food is sold in store. And so that's why we decided to shift. We in efforts, but we still want to build our e-commerce. But what I understand now is that we need the stores to fuel also our e-commerce. So it's a really like a multi-channel approach. And so going back to your question of what's our cost to be in stores and this distribution more mass distribution channel, that's something that honestly I don't have the answer right now because it's so early in our process in terms of how much it will cost us to be in each store. Until now, we've done it directly. And so the way we really knock on doors and send emails and almost, harass store owners to get our product on their shelves. And that's how we've gotten to 30 stores. But what we identify is there is this serious barrier from store owners to work with us directly, just because that's not how they work. They don't want to add one invoice to their monthly thing. They don't want to do one order. They have one system and they want to continue doing it like that. So we understood that, and we've had like I'm just going to name drop, but for example, with Healthy Planet, we talked with their buyer, and she was like, "Yes, I like your product." She tried it, everything, like we're ready, like get a distributor and we're ready. Because they don't want to work with people directly, with brands directly for, as I said, paperwork, but also like payment terms. So yeah, just going back to answer your question in terms of costs, I don't really know how much it will be to like additional costs of working with distributors. But if we have a healthy margin of 50 to 60%, even with distributors. So I feel that based on what we know, that will support our growth and like cash flow projections as well. And just to give you some context in terms also of that like steep growth chart, we are now in 30 stores, but our distributor in the West has 350 stores only for specialty pet, the one that we just signed like a month and a half ago. And grocery channel, which is a different channel, the national distributor has, I think, around 500 stores in Canada, only those. So and that's not all the stores that are available, not with clinics, etc. So I think that even though it's going to be hard to reach those numbers, I think it's possible.
Great. And if I understood correctly, you're raising $400,000 on an equity format. So my question would be, what does that equity look like for $400,000? That you don't have to answer that right now, but it's a question that sort of was in my mind. And the other thing is $400,000 for the growth that you're projecting. Is that enough, or is that a first round, or a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it would be a first round for the 12 to 18 month period. I think that's also something that I'm trying to figure out, to be honest. It's that right balance of, because I've heard like both ways, like you're raising too much, you're raising too little. And so it's like, my preference would be to not spend my time raising. So I would like to have like a longer runway. But then as I mentioned, I've also heard this other side of, oh, you're raising too much and you don't have the sales to prove that you are going to get to these numbers, right? So yeah, I appreciate any feedback on that front too.
So how long is your runway with a 400K raise?
So we're 18 months, like very lean, still very lean.
Okay, so you think you can go 18 months with just 400K?
And the revenue that we will have.
Yeah, and the revenue and grants.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
no, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay. And can I just ask, because cats need more animal protein than dogs do. So is the cat formulation more complicated than the dogs?
Yeah, cats formulations are definitely more difficult. They need more protein. And they have, as I said, they need these two key nutrients that are difficult to find.
Yeah. And I guess I'm curious as to whether it would be better to double down on dogs for a while.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that thought. It's something that, yes, yeah, I wondered about that as well. What has me very interested in cats is that people who have cats also have dogs. It's like more common than the opposite. So cat owners, not all of them, of course, but like more of them are multi-species families. And so I think that that's, given that there is less competition in cats, and if we get into their household through cats, then maybe we can promote our dog products too. But yeah, that's also yeah, good consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any other questions or any other feedback either of you'd like to offer, Sofia?
I'm just going to reiterate the $400,000 for equity. I'm wondering if you would consider, and not for the, for talking to investors, convertible notes or a safe, because and maybe you haven't had that She Boot session yet. So I don't know if that's something that might be worth looking at.
Yeah. Thank you. Though I think it. I get your advice, and yeah, it should be. The next big pitch practice will be different. This will be a developed version.
And the Thursday session is on deal terms.
There you go.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So lots up and coming for sure.
Thanks, Sofia.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sofia.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording now, and then I'm gonna start it again, just so you know you're gonna hear it in the audio.